So how it's going to work is we're going to have each candidate is going to give a short, roughly 3-minute opening remarks, and then we have a series of questions. The first question is a question that they've wanted to answer, so they chose their own first question. Then after that, it's questions that were curated, that were submitted by people online. We chose a handful of those, and they don't know what those are. But they'll each get a question in the same category, and they'll have 2 minutes to answer, and they'll alternate who goes first on those questions. And before this, we had a coin flip, and I believe Mike is going to go first with his opening remarks. So unless I forgot anything, cool. All right, so Mike Siegel. Mike Siegel, ladies and gentlemen.
Is my microphone working? Is that all right? All right, howdy y'all. Thanks so much for being here, spending your evening. Want to give a big thanks to Pastor Rigby and the elders of this church for opening up this beautiful sanctuary. This place actually means a lot to me, even though it's my first time here. Being a part of the Senate Bill 4 fight, I know this is a place that provides sanctuary to immigrant families and is a major place of social justice activism. So it's a very fitting location for this event. You know, some of you have heard me talk before, and some of you, this is my first time, but my background really is as a public servant for the last 20 years. About 20 years ago, I started as a teacher in the Teach for America program as part of this national service initiative, and I taught in the public schools for several years. I also was a part of the teachers union, fighting against school closures, fighting against the privatization of public education, and later went on to start a couple charitable organizations that provided free after-school and summer programs to children and youth. And one of those organizations, 15 years later, is still providing services to over 1,000 kids a year. I later decided to become a civil rights lawyer, thinking that I might be able to affect more systemic change. And my parents tried to dissuade me. They said, you know what, being a teacher is the most useful thing you could do. Of course, they're both lawyers, so it's one of those things, do as I say, not as I do. But I'm lucky enough to have been part of a lot of important civil rights cases, challenging discrimination, challenging retaliation against whistleblowers. And as a city attorney for the city of Austin, I get to sue the governor a fair amount, which I definitely think is an important thing in this time. As many of you know, the city of Austin has become a political football for these statewide Republicans who want to attack our values and what we care most about. And so as a former civil rights lawyer, being at the city, it's been a case of being in the right place at the right time. My commitment with this campaign is really to represent you. I feel like the current representative, you have to put that in quotation marks because he has no actual intention of representing the vast majority of the people in this district. McCall votes to cut health care for millions of people and wants to give himself a pat on the back. He votes to cut taxes for the rich and cut government programs. He thinks he's done a great service to the American people, and I feel like he's completely out of touch with the needs of the people of this district. I think you wouldn't be here if you didn't agree with that. My campaign is, I like to say I'm running from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. I'm fighting for a living wage. I'm fighting for Medicare for all. I feel like that's the most important issue. It's intersectional. It affects everybody in this country. I'm fighting for fair immigration policies that allow families to stay together. I'm fighting for clean air, clean water, fighting for a woman's right to choose, as well as maternal health, mental health. I'm fighting to get the NRA out of politics. As many of you know, our political system has been completely distorted by the influence of money and some of these Supreme Court decisions that have allowed unlimited corporate money. And my campaign is taking none of that, but also I'm committed to standing up to these folks that have basically been bullies. I think the NRA is a good example of a group that because they've given so much money and because elected representatives are so scared of them, they've basically had carte blanche such that a representative can't even vote for something that 90% of the American people agree with, like comprehensive background checks. And what these young people have taught us with Moms Demand Action, a lot of the students at Parkland and elsewhere, is actually if we stand up and fight back, that there's a lot of people that were waiting for us to do that. And I take a lot of inspiration from the Indivisible movement as well. Folks, especially women, who are doing the work, basically people who have not been involved in politics at all. And a lot of them have luckily supported my campaign so far. But these are people that were previously on the sidelines for whatever reason, and they have taken it upon themselves to call their congresspeople, to organize rallies, to support candidates, to run for office themselves. And that gives me a lot of hope for what we can accomplish. So I'm thankful for y'all being here and look forward to working with you more soon. Cheers.
Thank you very much. And now to Wanakadian.
Thank
Wanakadian,
you.
ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here on tonight. It means much. It says a lot. I want to thank the pastor. I met him in the back. Oh, there you are. I want to thank him for opening up these doors. As I said to Katie earlier, it feels so peaceful in here. I am a daughter of a pastor, so I understand the sacrifice that you're making to be here on tonight, because you got to be here on tomorrow. But I am excited. I am infuriated. I am fearful. Everything. All of these words is what I've been hearing across the district. And right now, we are at a point where we have no choice but to resist what is happening in Washington, D.C. I am candidate for U.S. Congress for the 10th Congressional District. I moved from Beaumont, Texas into Cypress 7 years ago now. When I moved, after unpacking a whole lot of boxes, I volunteered at the Democratic headquarters, Harris County Democratic headquarters, was inquiring about who my representative was. Found out that my representative was a guy named Michael McCall. I decided to go and look him up, and what I found at that time was that he was voting against health care. He was not voting against it because it was a bad idea. He was voting against it because he had made a pact with his party that no matter what the Obama administration did, they were going to vote no. Texas had the highest number of uninsured citizens in the country at that time. And also at that time, I, a registered nurse educator, was working for a nonprofit organization providing free mammograms and prostate screenings to people with little to no insurance. I was seeing people being diagnosed late and dying early because they did not have insurance. One of the perks of the Affordable Care Act is that everyone, regardless of their income, would get free preventative screenings. And I had a representative that was voting against it. That did not sit well with me. And I think Karen showed you in that video that women have a little fire inside of them that makes them get up when they see a problem and do something. I told my husband, I know that we just moved here. And nobody knows me, but I don't like what he is doing. I could not sit there and let him just go unchallenged. So I decided to put my name in a hat and I ran against Michael McCall. I did not care about his position. I don't care about his money. The reality is he has consistently proved to the citizens of Texas and the citizens across this country that he cannot relate, that he is not connected. And that is why he has so boldly stood up and said, I support this administration that has done everything possible in the category of being inhumane. I am proud of every single person, from our more seasoned, like Karen, to the young people that marched on yesterday and marched on March 24th. We are all in this together, and I promise you, if you continue to give it that last push, we will be successful. We will flip the seat. Why do we need to flip this seat? Because Mike McCall has done a good job of smoke screening us. He has been there through 3 presidents, President George W. Bush, President Barack Obama, and the current president. Pastor Rigby, I won't even say that name in your house. He's been there through 3 presidents. If he was sincere about helping the people of District 10, he would have done so by now. That is why I'm here to run against him. I need your support. It's time for us to have true representation for CD 10.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to the questions that you two requested to be asked. And remember, you have 2 minutes for your responses, and Elias is going to hold you to that. Tawana, you're up first. And your question is, what will having you as the Congresswoman mean for the constituents of Texas 10?
Having me as the Congresswoman for Congressional District 10 come November 7th, 2018, it will mean that you have won. You have won. It means that you have won against someone who thinks that it is okay to vote against Medicaid, to vote against our seniors who are in nursing homes, to vote against our children who are needing therapies, our children who are living with disabilities. They think it's okay to vote against them. It will mean that you, all of the women in here, all of the men who have wives and daughters and granddaughters and nieces, you have won against someone who has boldly voted against equal pay for women. Someone who has boldly voted against the Paycheck Fairness Act. You will have won. This is your opportunity. But it would also mean that you have somebody in the United States Congress that cannot be bought. You will have someone that does not believe that the NRA should make a decision on whether or not my 2 daughters and your children and grandchildren get to sit in school and actually learn instead of being on edge nonstop, wondering if somebody is going to come into their school with an assault rifle and gun them down. We need representation who is going to be strong, who's going to be bold, and who's going to actually do what they are supposed to do, which is represent the interests of the people of the district and of the state. You will have a fighter. That's who I am. That is who I always have been, and I am looking forward to standing on Capitol Hill and making the changes that we need for this congressional district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, what does it take for a Democrat to win in the Texas 10th?
So as you know, this is a district that's been heavily gerrymandered, and McCall feels safe. But I really do think there's a path to victory here, and it really involves community organizing. You know, grassroots, door by door, block by block, across the 9 counties of this district. I'm lucky enough to be endorsed by every major labor union between here and Houston, and numerous Democratic groups. And I think it's going to take 1,000 volunteers knocking on doors across this district to get to places like LaGrange, where folks have never seen a Democratic congressional candidate, or at least not in the 40 years. We need to actually get there and provide a choice because, by the way, Republicans need health care too. Republicans don't want to pay more in taxes to benefit the rich. Republicans might not identify with what Donald Trump is doing in the White House, with how he acts and how he behaves and how he treats other people. I also think we need to unify across many constituencies, and I want to say something in Spanish. Creo que para ganar será necesario conectar directamente con todas las familias latinas en este distrito, cuyas voces hasta ahora han sido excluidas del proceso político. Es hora de recordarles que sus voces son importantes y que estamos a su lado. Los republicanos han ganado las elecciones creando el miedo entre los inmigrantes, no solo aquí en Texas, pero también en todo el país. Yo estoy listo para enfrentar a estos políticos cínicos y para defender a las familias latinas en este distrito. Y creo que si demuestro esto con la suficiente claridad, saldrán a votar en noviembre. Like our union brothers and sisters say, in the fields and on the picket lines, juntos sí se puede. Together, yes we can. And I believe that if all of us step up, like the model of Karen, like many of you here, if we all do everything we can to reach out, not only here in Austin, because here in Austin we do need to turn out as if this is a presidential election to win, but we need to also go to places like Giddings, LaGrange, Eagle Lake, all across the 10th District, and knock on the doors, let people know you're not alone. We are here with you, and if all of us stand up, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.